A lot of people are running around with mold and fungus. They have no idea. There's more people that have these issues that it's mistaken for other things. And yet when you take this, you can heal faster, you do better, you fight off that bacteria, that fungus, that virus, much easier for the body.
Hello, welcome back to the Dr. Joy Kong podcast. Today, we have two experts with us that has been on this show for a couple times already because they are my favorites. So is Dan Schmidt and Dr. Stephen Warren. And they are behind this wonderful Methylene Blue products and that I use every day. So welcome, Dan and Dr. Warren.
Hi,
Thank you. Great to be back. We're our favorite podcaster.
Thank you. I think people just absolutely love Methylene Blue, love the idea. And it's very interesting. You know, I may want to ask a question. What's going on? Why all of a sudden this comeback of Methylene Blue, right? It's been around for like 140 years and it's been used by doctors for, over 100 years. But why all of a sudden now everybody knows about it? All the biohackers are using it. So what happened to the popularity? Why?
I don't know. I think it just, in my experience is that I remember years ago when I was doing my residency, we'd use Methylene Blue IV for, carbon monoxide poisoning, arsenic poisoning. But in the ICU, we used it to clear people's brains up after cardiovascular shock or after they had a sudden type of trauma or a traumatic brain injury. I remembered they used it. And when I was having all these patients come in post-COVID that had the brain fog and not feeling well, I said, no, I remember using IV Methylene Blue. So it took me a while to find anybody who had IV Methylene Blue. And at that time, there was like one half book on Methylene Blue. And so I started using it. And man, the patients were coming back saying, hey, we feel better. We're functioning. And that's where we started saying, well, let's try it in a different form with Dan's group and Darren started pushing it that way. But again, I started pushing it and somebody else out there on the planet, I guess, was looking for things to help our bodies improve that wasn't expensive because we're getting sick and tired of new medications coming out that cost a fortune and nobody can take them. So why have a good medicine if you can't take it? And that was one of our goals with our company is to make it affordable for everybody, but have a good experience. And then when you start doing the research, I think the best thing is people start taking it, they feel better. So they take the next person, they talk to the next person, and then the other, biohackers start trying it, other people start trying it. And I think it exploded from there, not necessarily just be alone, but other people are having the same experience. And we just saw it going forward so fast because you feel better on it and it's not costing you an arm and a leg, but you're feeling better. People are focusing better. They're feeling better. And it covers such a wide range of areas. I think that's people it's been proven for 100 years. There's no real side effects and people are feeling better. And that's all we want to do is to function better. And it just seems like once people feel it, they tell others and tell others. And that's, I think, how it's exploding.
Yeah. To the point where, everybody is showing off their blue tongue on social media. And then we found, Robert Kennedy, RFK was also taking it, right? So
put it in his water. Yep, absolutely. Doc really hit it right on the head. It's because of outcomes. People are experiencing it. They're feeling it. They're getting their energy back. They're noticing it within a short period of time. You don't have to take it for a long period of time before you start feeling those benefits. And it's affordable, like Doc was saying. And it's that jump-starting that mitochondrial, which we're all in dysfunction. We're being attacked daily by EMF. We're being attacked with everything that we do, the blue light, all our surroundings. We're not getting the energy that we need anymore. We all feel a little more lethargic, a little more down, a little more. Those aren't normal things. It's when those mitochondria are being attacked. We don't have good ATP energy production. When you get that, marvelous things happen. And as Doc said, everything from people that are experiencing things with dysfunction is autism. We talked about this before, right? Memory. It's actually ADHD. It goes on and on. Lyme's, energy. So when those happen, boy, the outcomes are just significant. And we have so many people, as Doc said, just passing the word. And the other thing that's super unique is we're not just Methylene Blue. Our Methylene Blue actually has other things with it. We're one of the first companies that actually put other supplements along with it to really help with more specific things in the body to really assist it, right? whether that's brain function, whether that's metabolism, whether that's I want to lose weight. We could go on, right? But so many wonderful things. And that's what those do. We've had so many fantastic stories. Love to share with you. I mean, it's just, and your podcasters are experiencing it, and we love that. They're going, Dr. Joy is one of the biggest coupon codes at the bottom that we ever see. They love you. So thank you all. Hopefully you all receive the benefit.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. The beautiful thing is that people keep sharing. So under the videos, people volunteer their results, and it just is heartwarming, right? I sent some of them to you because it's fun to see what people are getting out of it. Some things that we can't anticipate, right? There are things that doctors, we would never say, oh, I think it will help this. It seems a little far-fetched, but then people actually experience them. So that makes it really fun. So you mentioned mitochondrial function, and would you say that's the main mechanism of how methylene blue works?
In my opinion, it is, because everything gets back to those powerhouses, the mitochondria is producing all the energy. And that's, again, when they're dysfunctional, they start causing inflammation. This doesn't work. But when you get to the root cause, if our mitochondria aren't working, nothing works in our body. You can take all the vitamins you want. You can take all the sun you want. You can do everything. But unless those mitochondria are functioning as well as they can, nothing else works. And so you could talk about all these hundreds of different products that people take. But unless you get to the root cause, getting the mitochondria to function at a certain level, then we can start expanding on that. And that's why I think mitochondria are so important, because they're in every cell except for red blood cells. So there's not a cell in our body that doesn't have mitochondria. We have, trillion of them in our brain. We have them throughout our body. And so everything in our body, when you start seeing the benefits of methylene blue, go to that mitochondria, trying to boost them up, taking the poisons out of them and the toxins that are inside the mitochondria, improving their health. Then once the health, it starts working better, then you can take, vitamin C. You can take something else and it's going to work better because we've got the basis there. And it's the same thing with anything we do. If you don't have the basis, the right vitamins, or the right nutrients, or even on these weight loss programs, you do the shots without changing your diet, it's not going to work. So if we can get you to take the methylene blue to get those mitochondria to work at the best level, then I can start adding other things to it to get the benefits seen and the stories that we're seeing.
Yeah, that's interesting, because when we first discovered methylene blue as a medical agent, it was for antimicrobial purposes, right? People were not catching the plague. Workers that were using dye, right? They put their hands in the dye, and then somehow everyone else around them is falling sick and they're fine. So that was the first sign that this can be of medicinal use. And then we found out that they were really good for psychiatric conditions. Correct. Somehow it helps with psychosis, right? And so in psychiatric hospitals, they started to use that. But then when did we realize that there's so much more? And when did we find out about mitochondria when it's related to methylene blue?
I think it's probably, I don't have the specific date on that, but somewhere along the line, I don't even know the date they discovered what a mitochondria was. I'm going to have to look it up sometime. But I think when they started, people were taking it like we did throughout years. Hey, this works, it worked. And then finally they found a pathway that said, hey, these are the mitochondria and these are the pathways through it. And this is the respiratory chain it has to go through. And then they started realizing that methylene blue goes in there and takes those nutrients across and takes toxins out. So I think it took a long time. People were getting the benefits first, they had the benefits, they're feeling better. And then we came along with the success. It's sort of like when you talk about rapamycin, if you ever remember that chemical, that it was there for an organ rejection drug. Then they thought it was for longevity. And then they found they found that mTOR system that was accelerating life and making us age faster. So when we blocked the mTOR system with rapamycin, then, we started slowing down the aging process. So what they saw was they first saw the benefit and then they found the pathway. And I think that's what happened with methylene blue.
I see.
Started in World War I. They didn't know about mitochondria, but it stopped bladder infection, prostate infections, malaria. And, I think it's been a long haul to find out, how it worked. And then suddenly, like you said, back in the 50s and 60s, and in every woman's product for UTIs, urinary incontinence, and had methylene blue in it when you look back at it. Again, we keep forgetting that. I don't know what's the matter with our country. We always want the next best thing, right? And so, this antibiotic works better. Let's go to that one. Let's go to this one. So suddenly we're on these expensive drugs when we really need to look backward and say, what worked to begin with? What's the very basic? And that's what we keep forgetting in our country. We always want that next best thing, but the next best thing is not necessarily the best.
Yeah. And you mentioned methylene blue actually helps with detoxification.
Yeah, it's the only substance could really, they say it does both. Goes in, brings good things, and then goes in and takes those reactive species out. So when it goes into that respiratory chain and, producing the ATP and then going back and forth with the NAD and NAD plus and the ATP and ADP, it produces a lot of extra energy and a lot of extra, quote, trash. And the methylene blue can grab that and those reactive oxygen species and other damage and pull it out of the mitochondria into the blood system so that we can excrete it, get it out of our body. So they always say it's the only substance that brings good things in, but at the same time takes the bad things out. And that's what makes it so nice. It's doing two things at the same time.
It's kind of like one of the things I always like to tell people is that they can't understand is like, if you take your car engine, you want to, it's maybe not revving real well, and you want to give it more acceleration and rev it. Well, you have to make sure that engine's working. But so you're giving it gas. We're giving it oxygen with methylene blue, right? It's an uptake of oxygen. At the same time, get a reactive oxygen species. If you take your car and put it in the garage, close your garage door, and just sit there and try and rev your engine, what's going to happen? Death. Cellular death. What happens is that reactive oxygen species, or the carbon monoxide in your garage that you're breathing, is killing you. But what happens is it's able to open up the garage door so the carbon monoxide can go out, so you can rev the engine and everything can work, but you're not getting that poisoning into the cells. And what happens is when those cells don't get rid of that reactive oxygen species, because we're drinking our caffeine, we're taking our energy shots, we're revving our engine with just monoxide building up and those bad things that ROS building up, that's what causes that dysfunction to stay in dysfunction. And beautiful part of methylene blue, as Doc is saying, it's going to take that away. And all of a sudden people go, man, I start feeling better. Well, yeah, you've opened up the garage door, you're detoxing. And some people go, I feel a little bit weird at first, a little bit. You need to make sure you're drinking enough water as you go, because you are detoxing those cells at the same time as you're uptaking. So it's really neat. And it just recycles, right? It just uptakes, deregulates until it leaves the body fully.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. Yeah, I like that. Very, very easy to visualize. That's really good to know. So maybe one reason that methylene blue has been shown to be neuroprotective is that, is enhancing the function of the cells by providing oxygen, but is also removing all the oxidative damage. At the same time, there's also antimicrobial properties, which I think more and more as we go along evolving in medicine in our knowledge, that we are starting to realize there's a lot of microbial underlying causes to these neurodegenerative conditions. It doesn't matter what it is. I did research at a Mayo Clinic some years ago. The doctor was studying MS, and he was adamant on a viral origin of MS. And he was laughed at and ridiculed, but the research was good. And there's some really great evidence. But that was 1998. So that was a long time ago, but I think it's gaining more and more ground. People are realizing, okay, there's a lot of viral, bacterial, or even a parasitic origin to these neurodegenerative conditions.
A lot of people are running around with mold and fungus. They have no idea. There's more people that have these issues that, it's mistaken for other things. And yet, when you take this, you can heal faster, you do better, you fight off that bacteria, that fungus, that virus, much easier for the body.
Yeah. Do we know how it works? Why methylene blue is helpful as an antimicrobial?
I got to think about that. I know we're building the mitochondria, but I think it's doing something rupturing that cell wall in the mitochondria, whether it's bacteria, virus, and whether it's a fungus or parasite. It's killing that wall, and just, I don't know if it's putting more oxygen to it and that kills it, because we know that high oxygen kills a lot of the microorganisms. And so maybe the methylene blue is bringing in that extra, oxygen in the way it's going. It's killing those cells, because we see it all the time. And I tell people, like Dan was saying, people always want to be tested for molds, be tested for parasites. And as you know, it's hard to find them. You can do all these expensive tests. And I said, would you rather put your money into tests and find out, or do you just want to clear it up? And so that's why I have people take the methylene blue and some other things to get rid of the parasites and molds. And I'm finding it even in the new houses. I just had a patient build a brand new home 3 years ago. And I guess when they were putting up the stucco, it rained, and they put the stucco over the rain. And here he is in dry Utah. having black mold coming out of his house and making everybody sick. So I think it doesn't, we're seeing it more and more because we're looking for it, but I'm not trying to do the test for it because it's so hard to find often, and whether it's a parasite or something else. But if methylene blue can disrupt that cell wall and it kills it, that's even better to do.
A little background as far as kind of what we do as a company, right? When SARS-CoV-2 hit, right, we actually bought the SARS-CoV-2 virus and tested with our liquid mineral oxide, which is in our brain fog, and also in our methylated B12. And we found that it had a very great kill rate, even as a sanitation and disinfectant, because as Doc is saying, it actually, that upper oxygen, because it actually is it's a stabilized oxygen with other minerals and chlorides. Chloride's super important. And it actually knocked that out. But it made it so that it was, made it so it couldn't pass that on, whether it was the viral really breaking that up, but it couldn't continue and replicate. And so it stopped that replication with the oxygenation, almost acting more like an ozone, as far as with the oxygen. So what Doc is saying, that's kind of our theory of kind of how that's knocking that out with some other things. But we found that out in our tests. And that's been spectacular. One of the reasons why we have that liquid mineral oxide along with that antimicrobial, antifungal, antiviral product, which makes our brain fog completely different from any methylene blue product out in the market at all. It makes it stable as well.
So the one thing to answer too, I just found out the reason how it works for microbiome. It first of all disrupts the energy production. So it interferes with the bacteria's electron transport system, hampering their ability to generate their own ATP, and it impairs that cellular function. That's one thing. That it also has a strong affinity for nucleic acids, and they sort of destroy the DNA inside of the bacteria, causing the structural damage. It also seems like it increases the permeability of those microorganism cell walls, make it easier for other microbial agents to penetrate and destroy the cells. And then the last thing is, when exposed to visible light, methylene blue, as we're seeing with red light therapy and other things, actually can release a singlet oxygen, which is really a high reactive form of oxygen that damages the cell. So that's why sometimes you do that experiment, changing methylene blue from blue to white and blue and white. And when it's doing that, it's sending over that extra electron. And I think that's what's that singlet oxygen at that time. And so those are basically the big four reasons on how it's killing the microorganisms and we're getting the benefits that we see. That's into hardcore science, but that's basically what it's doing. So,
yeah, that's amazing. Thank you for that. Have people used it during COVID, like during acute infection? What do they see?
Yes, they have. Using methylene blue, Doc, during COVID. And what have they seen on their benefits? That's kind of where Doc started with that.
Oh, they saw it. I mean, their energy levels went up. The brain fog went away. Their energy levels come back. They felt so much better and felt like they were back to themselves years ago, even better than they were before the COVID. So that's what I saw with the IV form. And then you see some people say, well, only the IV form works. But, I've had the benefit of using IV methylene blue and oral methylene blue, especially in our tablets, and I'm getting the same benefits. So I don't think necessarily putting an IV with the methylene blue does any better than oral. And the trouble is sometimes with the IV form, people get too much in. And as we know with methylene blue, too much causes problems. So I'd rather have people taking the pills where we're getting the benefits than, risking putting too much IV methylene blue into somebody and getting some complications. So, but boy, I'll tell you, that was the thing that got me excited when I was talking to the Best 365 labs is these people are feeling better on methylene blue. I was shocked then, and every day, as Dan's saying, I'm shocked every day when I hear stories from all our patients and how they're doing. We had one just 2 days ago on dementia that I just could not even believe is how, this gentleman in his late 70s, was on just 3 of the products, slow doses that couldn't function. They've been married 40 years, didn't even know his wife's name, didn't know where to get around in his house, just was failing. And his primary care doctor told the wife, well, put him in assisted living or put him in a nursing home. I think he's at an end stage. He's going to die soon. And she said, so she started on the pack where we do certain methylene blue tablets in the morning with a few things and a few at night with a couple of other agents. And she wrote back a month later saying, when I came home today, he knew who I was. He was cooking the dinner. He cleaned the house. And he was back to the same guy I married 40 years ago. And just to hear people's stories like that with a blue substance is shocking. and how people are feeling, because we're getting to that root cause of repairing that damaged cells. And I think everything in our body has mitochondria. If we can repair them, you're going to see the benefits, whether it's for weight loss, for dementia, for Parkinson's, for infections or anything. It's getting to that cause. But man, I'll tell you, nothing makes you feel better than to use a simple, inexpensive product to get these kind of stories. They don't tell me that about Exelon or anything else. So it's nice to have a good story, because nobody comes and says, thank you for promoting this, certain pill. It's just the Methylene Blue's made a difference.
This is something I'd love to share. This came from your podcast, Joy. This is some that took as they said, a leap of faith. This is my text from them. I won't hold it up too much, but yeah, this is. Would you mind if I read it? I'll try not to cry, because when I got it, I got to tell you, this comes from people all the time. This is a special individual. He's older, his cerebral palsy. His doctors can't believe how he's done. His toes were curled. They've uncurled. He can lift weights. He can grasp them. Sent a video to me. It was really pretty special. But he goes, I will definitely keep you updated, because we love to keep updated with people. So when you do call in, we do give you our numbers, ours. Doc will talk to you. I'll talk to you. Darren will talk to you, the whole staff. But he goes, can't thank you enough for everything. So glad I found you guys video and took a leap of faith to try it. God heals people in different ways. I believe he chose you and your company to fulfill Seth's healing. He really couldn't take much more of this life. It had went on for so many years that I could see he was giving up and didn't have much fight left in him. My house went from a place of hardship and despair to a place of health and happiness. I pray God blesses you tremendously. We get these all the time.
Yeah.
And it's something that you sending out your podcast and reaching these individuals, and again, them taking a leap of faith and going like, am I going to pee blue? You hear things, is my brain going to turn blue? My organs are going to turn blue. All this stuff that's going on is just preposterous. And it's to lead us down this path of, I hate to say it, kind of happened with something that happened a few years ago, down this misdirection. And it's something that we really, as Doc said, tried to make it affordable for all, because this is foundational health. It's not that we don't need these other things, but when we're at A4M, the Academy of Anti-Aging, Doc's talk there, we've been there together, Joy. They were talking about mitochondrial dysfunction. It's the big thing right now, right? Genome and all these other things were big at one time, but they're finding that mitochondria, as Doc said, is at every part of every cell in our body except for our blood cells. And what they're finding is when mitochondria are in function and they set immune response, the first thing in immune response is mitochondria. They actually change shape and go from being one to a battleship. Listen, I don't know if there's infection in me or out of me, so I'm not going to do anything. That's function. But when they stay in dysfunction, it won't let anything in or out. So go to integrated medicine. What do we try? Glutathione. Let's try a drip. Oh, let's try this. High dose vitamin C. Let's go ahead and try CoQ10 I need for energy. But until that can open up, which is what Methylene Blue does, jump-starting the electron transport chain, it goes, boom, I'm back to being open again. And all those other things are needed and necessary, but until it's in function, we're just throwing money away. We're not doing any help. And all we're doing is helping the body do its natural function. That's it. And so that's the beauty of that Methylene Blue product. Now we can get the precursors for mitochondria, new mitochondria, jumpstart existing mitochondria and get rid of bad mitochondria. It's just like our skin. We grow from in to out, right? We wouldn't think about not, taking off our dead skin and sloughing it off. Same with bad mitochondria, getting rid of it, or jumpstarting new mitochondria with collagen and vitamin C, and then taking care of our skin topically. But that's not what we do with mitochondria, and it's everywhere, and that's super important. So we'll jump to that next, but I get super excited. Hopefully people can understand that. It's not just jumpstarting what you have now, but keeping it going from start to finish. And that's the true key.
Yeah. There's so much to talk about. So, going from infection, just one last thing about infection. I'm curious, did you see any benefits in patients who suffer from Lyme disease?
Yeah, Lyme disease. And of course, I sort of have my pet one, which is chronic Epstein-Barr or chronic mono, which I think is, again, any of these chronic sort of fibromyalgia, that type of process, whether it's Lyme's, Epstein-Barr, or another microorganism causing it. Again, that first thing that Lyme's disease does is start destroying all the mitochondria. And so every one of my patients that is in the Lyme disease protocol or the Epstein-Barr protocol are getting IV methylene blue in their hair along with some other agents, and then home on the methylene blue because I'm trying to repair those mitochondria so that the other medications we work. And so I really think that makes a big difference in these patients. So at least they report they're feeling better. And a lot of them, by the time they see us, have tried everything under the sun for their Lyme's disease. And so it's nice to have something different for them, and they're seeing that difference. So some of their other protocols then work better when we have, like Dan said, the mitochondria working at that higher level.
And even we've got some, Lyme's clinics that have been using our products. And one of the things that they found is actually combining products. So that's one thing we started doing is doing packages, right? We're not just trying to get you to buy more, but each one of those do something a little different. And what they're doing is combining the ADHD originally with the ADHD because it's our active daily health defense, not just for focus, but it's for energy. And when you have Lyme's, it is so difficult. Their energies are sucked out of them. They have none. Their body's fighting what they have right now, right? And so when you can actually get that mitochondrial repair and jumpstart so you can have some function in life, they've had great response. So whether that be the ADHD active daily health defense along with the methylene blue to give you that extra energy as your body's getting the energy back from its natural mitochondria, or using the metabolism, both those are a caffeine donator, but those are great sources of added energy. And now people are up and they're doing things and they're feeling back to, much back to more normal life and activity. So it's been a lot of fun. We're seeing a lot of that, as Doc's saying.
Yeah. So I know you guys are having a lot of fun coming up with different products, but it can also be a little challenging because people are looking at all these products. Oh my God, what should I get? So if I know Methylene Blue is okay. All right. So for example, just today, somebody asked me, okay, I want to enhance my athletic performance. Which one should I go for? What would you recommend?
I won't tell you what I do for my daughter and our kids, but yes, it does help.
So let's say that's my question. I want to, perform better athletically.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about what I do, and then I'll have Doc tell you the other science. Darren and I and Doc, we've done a lot before with the ratio of caffeine to L-theanine, right? Speeding up to slow down. Great for energy, but not only that, for focus. A lot of athletes have been taking, we had it in an athlete formula. When we add it with the methylene blue, we're getting more oxygenation, right? Remember, revving our engine. So we need to take a higher intake of oxygen. At the same time, get rid of that reactive oxygen species. So what happens as an athlete, you can rev, go, right? And still get rid of that reactive oxygen species. So our repair time's faster. We're getting better rotation of that. And so that's really helpful. But as we build the strength of our whole mitochondria from start to finish and energy production, that enhances our outcome because of our energy, our muscle, everything in that regard. So
that can be either from the ADHD or from the metabolism?
Yes. So that could be in that caffeine donator that way. Taking your NeuroPro Plus or your brain fog, those are all really good because the brain fog, I know I'm kind of jumping around, but they all kind of go hand in hand because what we're really creating is a mitochondrial toolbox. And what happens is methylene blue is great to jumpstart and do certain things, but we want to do the whole spectrum, right? From start to finish. And that's where some of these other things like methylated B12 for energy and the liquid mineral oxide, which has the stable chlorides and stable oxygen. So it has oxygen. It's got the magnesium chloride, potassium chloride. So you're getting also all these other enzymatic reactions.
So that's for which product?
That's actually in the brain fog. It's only a liquid. So you can only put in the brain fog and the and the methylated B12. So it's like that's the liquid mineral oxide.
So how do you know whether or not you should add the methylated B12?
You should take the mineral oxide no matter what, and that's why you put it in. Some people like to take
That's the brain fog.
In the brain fog, but some people don't like to take in the liquid, right? Blue tongue. If you want it, great. Put it in the mouth. If you want it, just put it in the very back of the throat. I do a thing online, or put it in water and drink it like you saw. You know who? RFK, right? Junior was doing that in his water and then drinking it. And then that bypasses getting really all the blue in your mouth. But some people don't like that. So you can still take one of our tablets, whether that be the memory or the NeuroPro Plus, and get the liquid mineral oxide in the B12, methylated B12, because most people, as Doc will tell you, 25% of the population cannot absorb Bs, and it needs to be methylated in order for absorption. So we do that so you can still get that, because it's super, super important as far as getting those mineral oxides in and those chlorides. Because as Doc was talking about, remember when we're talking about really fighting viruses, it is actually a charged mineral oxide. The only thing higher in a charge of our liquid mineral oxide is actually fluorine, which your body cannot take. So it's actually supercharging the methylene blue. And that's the secret of our liquid.
Okay.
Hopefully that helps. And Doc can go into more with that, but yeah.
Again, it seems like there's a lot of products, but like you said, the ADHD is basically synthetic, caffeine with the L-theanine in it, the Metabolism one, which is natural caffeine that helps more with the weight loss. We do people who can't tolerate caffeine, we put the vitamin C in with it. We have the one which is the brain, the memory one that helps at night, that has the nicotinamide, the B6 glycine that helps people improve their memory. So as some take the ADHD or Metabolism in the morning, the memory plus at night. And then if they can't tolerate caffeine, the one with the vitamin C. And as we're talking about today, and probably in our next podcast, we're using other products like PQQ with NAD. We're also using the methylated, like you said, the methylated B12 and the mineral oxide that makes you absorb it better. Because, every day I see these people come in and they have these low B12 levels, and you keep thinking, they eat good diets. Why is it so low? But they're just not, metabolizing. I don't want to get stuck in thinking that they have some bad disease with MTHFR. I'm just saying you just don't absorb it well. So to decrease that risk, take the methylated for them, and they start feeling better. I see the numbers coming up. So we're trying to, with some other products, including the ones I just said, trying to hit all the mitochondria together so we can put them at their peak performance, so that if you take other products from everywhere else, they're going to work better. And that's what we're shooting for, is to have the real highest mitochondria products we can do. And some of them, like you've talked about before with some peptides, sometimes we might have to have you use those in addition. It's bad. But right now, I think our Methylene Blue stacks, if we're stacking it together, a couple in the morning, a couple at night, or even we just say 2, but sometimes people need 4. So we're telling people to use what makes them feel good. We just know we don't have enough in those products for people to take too much to cause the damage. So we're trying to keep the levels low to get the benefits without the side effects of too much Methylene Blue. And then the other question I just want to emphasize now is my biggest complaint we get sometimes is people worried because they hear on the internet about the serotonin syndrome, taking the SSRIs. And as you know, I've did geriatric psychiatry for something like 25 years. Our other medical advisors done it for 40 years. You think we have seen serotonin syndrome the way we were pushing meds and the products, but none of us, either I or myself, I've never seen it. He hasn't seen it. So I tell people, unless you're on just massive killer doses, you're not going to get the serotonin syndrome. So don't worry about it. Just know it's in the back of your mind. But boy, I've never seen it unless you're taking 120 Prozac and, 3 bottles of Metabolism Plus at one time that you're going to ever see it. The only case they had a serotonin syndrome, Joy, was when they were looking for a leak in someone's artery in their neck. And she was under general anesthesia. She had been on a lot of Prozac, and they're squirting Methylene Blue into her veins to see where the leak was. She got, quote, they think a serotonin syndrome, but that's actually the only reported case of serotonin syndrome, but everybody extrapolated from that. And that's where we got the bad rumors going from that.
Right. Yeah. Everybody is a little scared. So people say, well, I'm taking this antidepressant, so apparently I can't take Methylene Blue.
What you say to it, new case is that one where they're doing IV Methylene Blue in an artery on a lady with 90 Prozac and squirting it directly into her vein. And they thought it might be serotonin syndrome, but there's no other reported cases in the literature of serotonin syndrome. So, we always do that in our country, find one bad thing and extrapolate it out to everything. So we just don't see it.
There's a very famous individual doctor online that's now saying before you start with, as far as antidepressants, you should start with Methylene Blue first. It's really true. So we get our kids taking things way too early. Teachers are actually doing diagnosis. Hey, your son or daughter has ADHD. Why? Because they can't sit still in class. Well,
Methylene Blue.
I was always in trouble then. Maybe I already have some anyway, but, and so we start doing things way too early. But, As doctor recommended it, even, my kids take it, Darren's kids take it. We don't do anything that we wouldn't do for our family. Just so you know, there's not a product that doc doesn't take, that I don't take, or that we don't take in combination that we wouldn't have our families take. And that's super important. And that we wouldn't buy either, right? One thing, as we were talking about at athletic performance, you will feel better. You will perform better. You will have better energy and more sustainable energy. And as Dr. Orr was just talking about PQQ and urethane A, which is actually part of our mitochondrial health from start to finish, biogenesis, synthesis, burning actually stored fats and sugars, getting rid of that heart attack fat is one of the things that we're doing with mitochondria. But and if I can jump from feeling better and doing these things to jumping to what people are doing with GLP-1s and what we're doing with our GLP-1 study is, and Dr. Warren is running that and doing a tremendous amount in that, is we can slow and help people lose some weight, but it's not just losing weight. We want to gain muscle mass. We want to keep bone density at the same time that we're doing it and keep energy. And you'll hear a lot of those things about I shouldn't say the GLP-1 face, or you see people, they start looking gaunt and gray, and they're losing weight and their skin gets scaggy and things by taking too many things. But since mitochondria is in everything, even if you're doing those things, you need to take things for your mitochondria to function, so that when you are getting there and you're off those things, you can maintain. And that's what we're showing in our study. And we've done a tremendous amount, and docs done a tremendous amount of case studies that we're having people lose much more weight faster, look better, feel better, have the energy, and maintain that weight off while keeping their bone density and their muscle mass and their energy. Fantastic. And if you think about it, that's what mitochondria is supposed to do.
So you're talking about the combination of methylene blue and PQQ. Is that and urethane A? So the study is based on these three products.
Right.
And then, as Doc will tell you, we're doing a little bit of a GLP-1 to help people as far as a little boost, but in a lower dose. Along with that, we're doing our Metabolism Plus and our B12. So we're working that because, again, we want that liquid mineral oxide in there, which is super important. And that's what Doc's running. And we're seeing outcomes, people losing. But the most important thing is that they're feeling better. They're more energetic. They want to eat better. So it's really, and we're not doing anything more than they're doing it on their own.
So you combine Metabolism Plus, and that has methylene blue plus what else?
So
they have a low dose of GLP-1, which is semaglutide.
And metabolism.
And then,
metabolism.
Yep, semaglutide. But then we're actually using that jumpstart because that's going to help with a little bit of reduction.
That's not in the metabolism.
No. That's a separate injection. But what happens is you got to fix your mitochondria. So we're doing that and fixing the mitochondria using the PQQ, the methylene blue, and urethane A. And that's actually getting biogenesis of new cells, jumpstarting our existing cells, get rid of senescent cells or old cells at the same time as burning stored fats and sugar and creating that new ATP. So rather than also always having to go up and up and up in a dose, we'd think that it would actually go down, wouldn't you, in time, if you're getting better? So what we're showing is there is a long-term outcome that can be significant and lose weight, but keep body composition. It's not losing weight and losing muscle mass. Congratulations. If we just lose muscle mass and bone density, we just got fatter. We may weigh less, but congratulations, we're still fat. So we don't want that. We want vitality and health.
So people may ask, how long do I need to keep taking? Basically, sounds like it accelerates the results from GLP-1 agonist, and you can take a lot less and get the same or even better results because you're preserving muscle mass. But then you can get off the GLP-1 and then continue this combo. But then how long do you need to take the combo?
Great question. How long are you attacked? It's like, I took a lot of vitamin C, Joy. Do I ever have to do that? One of the docs that's great with this, that is having super success, just like Dr. Warren, he goes, it's like, well, I brush my teeth once, Dan. Do I have to do it for the rest of the month? You know what I mean? It's something we're attacked daily, just like we're putting things in our mouth. Our mitochondria are being attacked daily, whether it's immune defense, whether it's, blue light. We look at all these other things that are really getting us, and there's so much more we could get into. But what happens is we're attacked daily. So taking it daily is not a bad thing. We don't have to take an abundance of it. Even if you miss a day or two, it's not a big deal. But you want to continue to keep that mitochondrial function going, because that's what keeps people from aging as fast. And that's what keeps them sharp and energetic. And you see certain people like, man, I wish I were like them because they have so much energy. How do they have it?
One of the interesting things, I don't know if you've seen this, Joy, I just finally figured it out. There's sort of a scale out there that looks at body mass, the fat. It looks at your muscles called the in-body. And they have one part of their experiment down in the one corner called phase angles. And I started doing some research into what that is. And basically the phase angles is looking at your mitochondria and your health of your body. I thought it was something totally different. But when I looked at it and studied it and went back to in-body and looked at it, it's basically a measurement of our mitochondria. So if I have people down in 4, we've seen people like 4.2, 4.5, as we put them on the scale and taking down their weight, increases their muscle, improving their mitochondrial health, we're seeing this phase angle score going up. The max is 8 that I saw the other day, but it's really fascinating to think that it's through electric impulses that it's sending up through your body to detect the health of your mitochondria, which I find very interesting. Back to the energy. So it's able to tell how much energy we have in the mitochondria from this new frequency they send out through your body. So if you get a chance, look at that phase angle stuff at least I know it's on the in-body scale. I haven't looked at any other, apparatuses, but again, made me realize that, boy, our mitochondria are producing all this energy, and this particular sending this frequency up can find it. And as we improve their health, we're seeing their scores going up. So it's pretty impactful. And at the same time, they're keeping their muscle weight up. They're lowering their fat. And that's what we want.
You don't have to have a certain diet. You know what I mean? If you have an engine, think of your mitochondria we talked about as the engine. You can use unleaded, you can use premium, you can use, a supercharged Techron with, whatever. There's an ad for you, I guess, since I use Chevron. But, it just depends. It burns better. But rather than worrying about all these diets, we want to get our mitochondria working. You start, and this is what people are experiencing. I don't really feel I want the sugars. I don't really feel I crave the garbage anymore. The gut biome changes. The body wants different things. People go from, are you exercising? They don't have any energy to exercise. We talked about this before, right? When we're in dysfunction, 20% of our energy and oxygen goes to our brain at rest. And, our body just doesn't have the energy. But once that starts kicking up, people go, I feel like walking again. I feel like I can go do something. They don't feel as lethargic. And their great thing is they're doing it on their own without having to go to the gym and do cardio. We already know just going to the gym and doing cardio does not do enough. It's not going to burst the bubble. It never has. It won't. And, doing all these fad diets. Most important thing we can do, jumpstart that mitochondria. Get it running, get feeling better. Focus, energy, it all comes to fruition. And if people just try it for a while, some people experience in a day or two. If you take the ADHD, active daily health defense, or metabolism, says that caffeine boost, you will feel it immediately, within the hour, within a few minutes. But people taking the products will feel it very quickly within days, easily within a month, they'll start feeling those differences happen. And, once you experience it, people go off and go, I'm going back on.
Mm-hmm. You're definitely inspiring me to take some ADHD right before I go work out after our podcast. So, because I wasn't taking it, I was thinking, I don't know, my ADHD, I think is in control. I think I'm doing fine. But now it was like, well, if it can enhance my workout, I'm going to do it. Yeah. So, and I want to ask you also about cognition, because that's a huge concern of, everybody I know. We all want to keep our marbles and keep us, function at a high level, no matter what our job is. So how do we preserve our cognition? And then, of course, that has to do also with our identity, right? Eventually, if the good goes really bad, people lose their personality, et cetera. It can be pretty scary. So how do we preserve our brain function?
Yeah, just as we mentioned at that one couple, that the dementia went down. Again, we have more mitochondria in our brain than anywhere in our body. So if we can soup it up with those stack packs of some ADHD or metabolism in the morning to get them going, we also have And again, the NeuroPro Plus at night for memory seems to help. The PQQ and the other products, the urethane A, will help the mitochondria. And then again, this gets back to what you're saying. If we get those going, you start exercising, resistant training for older people, the right nutrients. It doesn't work if you're eating crap. And as Dan is just saying, once your body's feeling better, let's say your mitochondria are functioning, you don't have that craving for that. So my patients that have worried about their cognition, if they take the Methylene Blue, then I can add other products to them. But again, the basics, the exercise, walking, they don't have to walk very far. They can use the resistant bands to get these muscles going, and then eat the proper foods, get off the seed oils, get on the good oils, and get in the right, right combination of carbs, proteins, and fats. Then they're going to keep the brain going, because we need, fat for our brain. So we've got to get the right fats. And these people that sometimes go on too low of fat mess up the brain. And so if we can get them on the right diets, the right proportions, and then with our products, and then eating good, exercising, and then I can add other products down the line, I think that's what we're going to get, improving the memory. Because all my patients that eventually have, unfortunately, a lot of them end up in the past in the nursing homes, and they do no activities. They do nothing there. But if you take the ones that are at home, get them out walking, keeping their minds active, doing things, then our products work even better. But that has to be there, because I guess you could take Methylene Blue all day, and if you just sat and watched TV, you're still going to lose your mind. So I think it's getting that point of doing some, the right diets, the right foods, and some other products we can talk about later to help boost it up. But man, if we don't have the basis, we're not going to go anywhere. And I'm seeing that. The other word I hate in my life is the word retire, because I see too many of these people getting into that age and say they're retired. I say, what do you do all day? And they just look at me. Oh, you need something to do every day, because those that stop doing something every day, or have those goals, or have that community around them, they're the ones that have dementia. They're the ones that start losing their minds. They're the ones that have the hard time. So our products are great, but you got to combine it with these other factors to make it work at a higher peak. And that's what we're trying to focus on, is get people to function. And, exercise too. If they're going to be retired, find something to do, because sitting around watching the TV doesn't work, nor you can only do so many trips.
Right. That's actually my next question of what do you use in combination with Methylene Blue? What have people found that's really helpful? Like one thing come to mind is infrared sauna.
I don't have an infrared. I have a real one from Finland, but I think the saunas look like the red light therapies work well. I think I use a product that's like an MT factor that has the right lipoproteins in it to help build up the mitochondria. Help the cells around all of our cells have that lipid protein. And so I use products like that. And again, the other factor I forgot, Joy, is that they don't get their hormones tuned up, nothing's going to work. So the men got to be on the right dose of testosterone. The women got to be on their hormones, and get rid of the scared thing about, it's going to cause X, Y, and Z. Get into the real world and read the new literature saying it's not going to cause that harm. And you watch them, you put them on the hormones, you watch their levels. That makes such a big difference, because then they feel like they can get out and work, and they can feel better. So I do the hormones. I do some of the right diet to get the fats into their diets and the right proteins in their diet, using the, like L-carnitine. Well, it's great. Builds up your muscles. I got some gummy ones that work better, because I never have time to stir it together. But they have to know that they have to go to the regular doctor and their kidney tests are off. No, it doesn't kill your kidneys. It just tests, if you're on carnitine, it's going to mess up that test, that BUN and creatinine test. So take the new test out, the cysteine, there's one called cystatin C, which is the newer test to check kidney function. It's not influenced by that. And so, you get on the right proteins, the right, those supplements, and get out there and do something, get the community around you. And I think then you're going to be better. I mean, there's some peptides I use to help people feel better. There's, I go to sometimes levels to human growth hormone if I have to, or use certain peptides like tesamorelin, ipamorelin. There's things we can add to it, but I got to get that basis first before I can do any of those other things, because it's not going to work.
There's a lot online too that for exercising the brain teaser is the thing, but just to keep active, keep your mind going, right? And so many times we're just told, and this is I hear this over and over again, because our population of people that are purchasing are a lot in the older. They're worried about, I don't want to be like mom and dad. I'm worried I'm slipping a little bit. We start to act on fear and on pain. And that's when we really jump into things rather than on, hey, I'm enthusiastic about keeping my health. And more people are doing that in the biohacking world. But, people are really finding that out. But there's things out there to help. And like Doc's saying, talk to your a good doc, and if they don't know, find one that does, and just keep active. And when you do, and when you have good mitochondria, you'll stay active. But also, it's super important in our toolbox that we've done. We've done the NAD PQQ, and you've probably seen that. That's our new one that we did. NAD, they'll do IV NAD. There's not a lot of good tests, and Doc can go into that on the testing for NAD. There's a lot on the precursors, but it doesn't mean it's turning into NAD, which is a function of trying to help mitochondria grow, right? And PQQ is another one we were talking about, great for biogenesis of new cells. So to keep our brain active and our mitochondria in our body going, we need new, right? Replenish what we already have. But when we get stuck in that mitochondria, it's just like we're slouched in the chair, not doing anything, and just, drooling. We don't need to be that way. So in with the new, jumpstart what's existing, and out with the old. And that's going to help us stay younger, more active, and better brain activity and function in the long run, along with doing the other things over and above the foundational product. But until you get that foundational stack done, the other things just really don't do as much. And as Doc's talking about with hormones and things, those are all help regulated by mitochondria. And in fact, they're talking about diabetes and a lot of other things. And we're talking about what a great thing about RFK and all he's doing. He's looking at science. He's looking at what are these outcomes? What have we been looking at? What are we missing? What's happening? Why do we have so much autism? Why do we have so many of these mitochondrial dysfunction? And finally, the world of medicine is jumping into mitochondrial function, and people are jumping on a little snippet here. Oh, you need this. Oh, you need that. And they're going down a rabbit hole. No, it's all mitochondrial function, right? It's really from start to finish, and it's not one. And that's the way we look at it at Best Labs is that's why we're adding products, is because it's not one thing. It's that whole thing that makes it work. And so that's kind of our message, and we're sounding that, want people to do that. Where do I start? Just start. That's the most important thing. If you don't, ask Joy. That's going to be our new podcast. Ask Joy.
Oh my goodness.
Right, good.
Well, I try, but yeah, my strength is that I'm bringing experts. So I don't claim to know everything, but definitely, I'm very excited about utilizing and learning about this. So I've learned a lot from you guys.
We'll be back with more things soon. So, right, Dan, I'm excited about it.
And, about the Methylene Blue, really excited about all the new products you're talking about. Just to recap, so people who are, having burning questions, because I like giving it like clear, concise instructions so people can take home and actually just, get what they need. Let's say I want to lose weight, and maybe I want to do GLP-1. Maybe I don't, but I really want to accelerate my progress. So I will probably start with Metabolism Plus and the PQQ and erythrin A, right? The three.
Well, we don't have that. That one's only in our study. So if you're in our study, we've got the combination which you have at your office, Joy, which is the erythrin A, the PQQ, and Methylene Blue. All three, kind of our triple count all together. And we're doing that with the study with the methylated B12 for energy, and then also we've got the metabolism. If you don't have those and you're already doing, a GLP-1, we've come up with an accelerator for those that are already doing it. We're not out to grab money. This isn't our big thing. If you want to join our study, you can do it. It's just Best Labs 365 GLP1study.com. You can go to that and join it. It's $350 a month. We give you all the products. We send everything to you. It's all run through Dr. Warren. But if you don't and are already doing something, that's fine. And your insurance is covering it or whatever. That's great. But you need to be taking that NeuroPro Plus. You need to be taking the NED, PQQ, the Methylene Blue, and the Metabolism Plus. You're missing the erythrin A, but it's going to help that jumpstart that mitochondria. It's going to make that work better. You'll see better outcomes. And when we talk about it, Doc is really big into health and rejuvenation, and also his clinic as far as skin care and things of that nature. When we look at that, mitochondria is in our skin. It's everywhere. When we're losing weight, that's why you see people on our before and after, they look vibrant. They look healthy. They don't look like that gaunt. I've been on GLP-1s for like 8 years, and you see people throw those posts up. They make fun of them. That's because you're supporting your mitochondrial function. You're supporting skin elasticity and collagen production as you're losing that weight. We just want to be saggy. So all those are mitochondrial functions. So that's why we have that accelerator pack if you already have it. But if you don't, you can join the study or just start with a NeuroPro Plus. Just jump in and start.
Now I'm thinking maybe, I need to give you guys more credit about my skin because I was talking about stem cells and my stem cell cream, but I've also been taking Methylene Blue. Maybe I haven't been giving you guys enough credit.
It's the combo.
Yes. Yeah.
You said you were glowing, and you are.
Yeah. So that's for the weight loss. And then, of course, for the metabolism, that's the same thing, right? Right now, you have the Metabolism Plus and the PQQ and AD and the Methyl B12, right? These are the main ones. I'm wondering if the ADHD can also help.
And as Doc was saying, it's a different one. It gives a little more pop to the brain. So some people, this is another thing that's different. People are finding, since all those products are a little different, they'll do a combination. Not that you have to buy them all, but you can buy them and they can last for a while, right? Because if you're combining them, you don't have to do it all the time. But what happens is that they'll take a little bit of the Active Daily Health Defense, ADHD, combined with the Metabolism Plus, because it has a slower caffeine donator. Or if you get too much of the caffeine, it has a slower release. Or you can combine the two, one for a little bit more energy, brain focus, and then a little bit more for the long term, that green tea guarana, if you've ever felt more of a thermodynamic type burning, a slower release of caffeine. So you can't combine the two.
Yeah. And then for cognition, it will be the NeuroPro Plus and the NeuroPro Memory. That's specifically, you added extra ingredients just for memory enhancement.
Yes. And then if you're not taking the brain fog, that has the liquid mineral oxide. Liquid mineral oxide, super important. Either you're taking that or the B12, because those are the only two items that have the liquid mineral oxide, that charged liquid mineral.
Yeah. Wonderful. I heard there are some people that are concerned about kidney conditions or bladder issues. So methylene blue is excreted by the kidneys, correct? And was that one reason that people were concerned about kidney function? Or
They just worry about it. But again, remember I told you in the 50s and the 60s, it was in every urinary incontinent product and bladder product because it kills all the microorganisms. So the chronic UTIs were gone when they used the methylene blue and made their kidneys, their bladders and everything function at a higher level by keeping down all the inflammation as well as all the microorganisms. So even though you think your peeing blue is causing a problem, it's not dying your kidneys, it's not dying your bladder, but it's killing all those microorganisms, building up those walls so they're stronger. So again, that's what they used, and then they thought there's better items out there, it cost more, so it went away. But boy, you go back to the old school, it was methylene blue and like 12 of the products back then, and it worked well. So it does not hurt your kidneys, doesn't hurt your bladder. Matter of fact, it improves both of them and keeps out these ladies that have chronic UTIs all the time. Taking methylene blue, they don't have the UTIs anymore, especially if they take the one that's the methylene blue with the vitamin C. If they can do that, that again just wipes out the bladder infections.
Okay. So you're not concerned when somebody has any bladder or kidney issues?
Not at all.
Wonderful. Are there any contraindications?
Well, the biggest one, they always talk about the SSRI that we discussed today, that it's not really, at our dose, is not a problem. There's a hereditary disease, that G6P deficiency, that you would know about it because it's in your family history. Certain cultures have it. I've not seen, when I went to school on the East Coast, I saw some back then. I haven't seen it that time. So that's the only major contraindication that I've seen is that the G6P deficiency. And by that time, whatever age you're taking it, you should know by then, or your family has it. So it's more of a family trait than anything else. It just doesn't come out of the clear blue.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you can test for it.
If there is a mistake or at that low dose, and Doc is great. He'll answer questions, and he answered one for us in regards to this. I'm just going to expand on what he said to us earlier here at the offices. It also has a shorter half-life. So it's not one that you're going to take and have a, long-term repercussion from, because it's out of the body fairly quickly. So, and at a lower dose, again, you want to make sure you're drinking enough water and things of that nature as you're getting things out. But it's something that if there is some sort of a indication or something contra that's happening, it's out of the body relatively fast.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a good way to say, Doc?
Yep. And we haven't had anybody, maybe Dan has seen it, but I do not, as of now, had anybody write to me and say they're even allergic to it. So I've not even seen that. They might have had one, maybe, but I've not seen one person say they had an allergy to it. So
some will report a little bit of a headache or a little dizziness or a little bit. And again, they need to be taking plenty of water. Remember, as Doc said, it's getting rid of those reactive oxygen species. So if you're doing that and not taking care of yourself, you can feel that way a little bit, but that will go away. And sometimes it goes away for people very quickly. Some have a little bit more detoxing to do, but don't be afraid to a certain extent. That's a little normal. It's not something that's going to stay with you for a long time. It's just going to be a short period.
And then some people say, well, one day my urine's blue. The next day it's sort of clear. That's just, oxidation in your body, what's going on, how much you drink. So many other variables are involved in that. So that's nothing to worry about. It's not you're doing something wrong. You're doing something, that's not good for you. It will vary just depending on, your hydration that day and what's going on in your body, trying to, oxidize and get rid of things. So sometimes it's a light blue, sometimes it's darker. But that's the way the urine goes anyway.
Right. So. And the product also, sometimes you're light in color, sometimes it's dark blue. So why the variation in different bottles?
Great question. Because as Doc was just saying, when you add vitamin C or you add the mineral oxide, which will stabilize that, by the way, the mineral oxide stabilizes methylene blue so it doesn't deteriorate, shelf life. A lot of others, there's been a lot of talk about, over time it diluted it loses its potency. But what happens with that is it's changing that. It's changing electrons. It's getting more oxygenation. It's going to turn blue. And turning colors is a good thing because it's true methylene blue, just not dye. It's actually methylene blue. It's supposed to do that. Remember, it's a recycler. Donating, take away. Change color, not change color. That's its normal function.
Yeah, I think I've seen the same bottle. It was lighter, and then later on, it became darker, right? It was.
And if you take it, put it in water and drop it, and I tell people, don't think that it's clear, because it's not. You drop it on your shirt or on your counter, it's going to stain, okay? You put it in your mouth thinking, oh, I won't turn blue in my mouth, you'll turn blue. Because as soon as it hits that oxygenation, you're back up, right? Same thing happens. People ask us, your tablets look a little different today. It's the way it is, right? It is a raw material. So it is going to have a little bit of difference or a little bit even a flavor profile. We try to have a little flavor, but people notice that. And that's typical of what happens. So just so you know, that is normal. That's what it's supposed to do. If it doesn't change color, as Doc will tell you with the scientific experiments, it's not methylene blue.
And if you take a lot of vitamin B12, your urine's going to turn green. From the B12, turns your urine yellow. So yellow and blue make green. So don't freak out on that.
Mm-hmm.
If it comes out purple, I want to know what's going on if you have purple, but we'll work on that later.
And a lot of people are a little concerned that we're not sure about the dosing. So I just want to give people like a overall idea. So to be considered very safe, I think up to 2 milligrams per kilo is very safe, which means an average person, let's say 70 kilo. So that's 140 milligrams a day. It's considered very safe. And then your product, the brain fog, the one that's coming from a dropper, each dropper full contains only 10 milligrams, right? So you can do quite a few of those. And the tablets, the NeuroPro, each 2 tablets, 15 milligrams. So it's very similar. Whenever you have methylene blue in the product, that's around that range in how many milligrams, right?
They're all about 10 to 15. That's the range, 10 to 15 on each, right? Under dosage for our tablet. And the only thing that differs is the ADHD and the Metabolism Plus, because those are 2.5 each. If you take a full dose, which is 4. So yes, all those ranges are right on with what you say, because, really we're at a super safe level. So even if you're stacking, you're still okay. And that's what's neat. People worry, oh, I'm stacking, we're going to be hitting that range. No, you're okay. And if you're going to be traveling, take it before you travel. I'll up my dose a little bit if I'm traveling, or my kids, you're coming home and you're like, All right, you're taking 2 tablets. You're taking 2 tonight, by the way.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, take it for us. Yeah.
All right. Sounds excellent.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much. This has been such a great interview. As always, you guys are a lot of fun. So much good information. I know your company just heart in the right place, really want to help people, making this affordable. I know there's still people complain that it's expensive, but I think you're making it as low cost as possible for people to reap the benefit, and it's some pharmaceutical grade methylene blue. And you have really done your homework and doing everything you could and illustrating in all the efforts that you're doing with the research, and which are very, very much appreciated. That's a lot of work.
Appreciate you and sharing the message, and all your viewers for trusting us, to try.
Yeah. And you guys are getting just more and more popular. More doctors want to use your products. I mean, I can tell you how quite a few doctors, after they saw what I have on my shelf in my clinic, they're like, well, I have that too. So it's great. So good job.
And thank you. Keep it doing. I appreciate you.
And not just speaking out here, we're probably one of the most recommended by doctors that's out there right now, and pharmacy. And that's a wonderful thing, because even pharmacies know that we're doing it at a cost that it's hard to compete with, because, again, foundational, we want people to enjoy that health. So thank you, and to all the people trying it. We really appreciate you all.
Thank you for the great work, and thank you for this informative session. So until the next time.
Thanks so much.
Okay. Bye, everybody.